The wind howled through the jagged peaks of the Velen mountain range, carrying with it whispers of dread. Deep in the forest, a forgotten crypt stirred as moonlight fell upon its shattered stones. A shadow emerged, twisting unnaturally as if it had no bones, slithering across the ground like spilled ink. This was no man. It was the bloodsucker, a creature of primal hunger and ancient wrath. Its movements were jagged, unnatural, as though it were struggling to remember how to walk among the living. But its hunger was clear. It sought to feed. Maren, a quiet girl of 17, lived on the outskirts of Durness, where the woods grew dense and the shadows came alive after sundown. Her neighbors whispered about her family. Her father, a scholar, had disappeared years ago while researching the legends of the bloodsucker. Her mother had succumbed to madness soon after. One chilly evening, as Maren wandered through the forest, she felt something following her. The motion was subtle at first, leaves rustling against the absence of wind. Then came the snapping of twigs, followed by an eerie scraping sound. She turned sharply, her lantern casting trembling light on the trees. For a moment, there was nothing. But then, at the edge of her vision, she saw it. A figure, emaciated and twisted, its eyes glinting with a predatory glow. It did not chase her. Instead, it watched, as if savoring the anticipation of her fear. The villagers soon noticed the signs. Animals found drained of blood, their eyes wide open in terror. Children waking in the middle of the night, screaming of shadows crawling through their rooms. And then the forest human victim, a hunter named Ewan, was discovered in his cabin, pale as ash, his body rigid with fright, his veins collapsed as though every drop of blood had been siphoned. Desperation gripped the town as the elders recounted the old legends. The bloodsucker, they said, was not born but created, a once human sorcerer cursed for dabbling in forbidden rites. It thrived on fear and despair, its presence growing stronger with every life it claimed. Maren began to piece together her father's research. Hidden in the attic of their crumbling home were his journals, filled with frantic notes and sketches of ancient runes. Among the entries, she found references to a binding ritual that could trap the bloodsucker, but it required a sacrifice, one's own life force to bait the creature. As more villagers fell victim, Maren knew she had no choice. With trembling hands, she ventured into the crypt at the heart of the forest. The air inside was suffocating, the darkness alive with malevolent energy. She could feel it before she saw it, the bloodsucker, its grotesque form emerging from the shadows. Its movements were erratic, almost insect-like as it lunged toward her, fangs gleaming like shards of glass. Maren stood her ground, reciting the incantation from her father's notes. The runes etched into the floor began to glow, trapping the creature in a circle of blinding light. But the bloodsucker was cunning. It whispered to her, its voice like silk and venom, promising her power, knowledge, even the return of her father. For a moment, Maren hesitated, her resolve faltering. The light began to flicker, the circle weakening. With a scream, Maren drove a silver dagger into her palm, letting her blood spill onto the runes. The circle surged with renewed energy, pulling the creature into its center. Its screams echoed through the crypt, a sound of unearthly agony and rage. When it was over, the crypt fell silent. Maren collapsed to the ground, her vision fading as the ritual drained her strength. But she knew she had succeeded. The bloodsucker was imprisoned once more. Months later, the village began to recover, though scars of the ordeal lingered. Maren was hailed as a hero, but she carried a terrible secret. The ritual had not destroyed the creature. It now lived within her, a faint shadow in her mind, whispering its hunger, waiting for the moment when it could rise again.